Direct News TV. January 17, 2024. A shipment of medical supplies meant for Israeli captives in Gaza and Palestinians in need has entered the Strip as part of a deal brokered by Qatar. The U.S. designates Yemen's Houthis as a specially designated global terrorist after the group's attack on shipping in the Red Sea in response to Israel's attacks on Gaza. MSF says displaced Palestinians fled after Israeli forces carried out heavy bombing near hospital. Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, has said that Israeli forces carried out heavy bombardment near Nasser Hospital without prior evacuation orders on Tuesday night, causing patients and displaced Palestinians seeking refuge in the hospital to flee in panic. During a visit today to the hospital, MSF head of mission for Palestine Leo Khan said that conditions at Nasser, the largest remaining functional hospital in Gaza, were catastrophic and that the facility was operating at 300% capacity. At Nasser Hospital, MSF provides emergency care and surgical treatment for patients including those with traumatic and severe burn injuries, the group said in a social media post. Our activities have been significantly reduced since December due to the intense bombing around the facility. Amnesty says communications blackout hampering rescue services in Gaza. The human rights watchdog Amnesty International has said that a 6-day telecommunications blackout has put civilians at risk, hampered the work of rescue services and complicated aid delivery efforts. These recurrent and life-threatening blackouts must not be normalized. An immediate ceasefire is critical to urgently restore power and connectivity to Gazans, the group said in a social media post, noting that the communications blackout is the 9th imposed by Israeli forces since the beginning of the current round of fighting. Clashes in Bani Naim injure one Palestinian. Confrontations have broken out in the occupied West Bank town, east of Hebron, after Israeli forces began a raid of the area. Video verified by Al Jazeera shows groups of Palestinian young men marching through the streets of the town chanting slogans and burning rubbish on their way to confront Israeli forces. The Palestine Red Crescent, PRCS, said that one young man was injured in his leg by live Israeli bullets fired during the clashes. The additional video we verified shows the arrival of a PRCS ambulance at the scene of the clashes so that he could be transferred to the hospital for treatment. Intense Israeli raids have been taking place throughout the day in the occupied West Bank, with at least 10 Palestinians killed by Israeli soldiers. 3 medics arrested by Israel during Tulkarem raids, Palestine Red Crescent. Ahmed Jibril, the head of the Emergency and Ambulance Department in the occupied West Bank for the Palestine Red Crescent Society, PRCS, adds that Israeli forces had hindered medical staff trying to help those injured in the attacks in Tulkarem. Israeli soldiers hindered the work of the Red Crescent teams and obstructed ambulances. In addition to searching the ambulances, Jibril told Al Jazeera, adding that PRCS teams had to wait for hours to be allowed to reach the injured inside Tulkarem refugee camp due to Israel refusals. Medicine and aid have entered Gaza, Qatari official. Majid al-Ansari, the spokesperson of Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has said the assistance reached the besieged territory in the past few hours. The aid was part of a deal that would also allow medicine to reach Israeli captives in Gaza. Qatar, along with its regional and international partners, continues mediation efforts at the political and humanitarian levels, al-Ansari wrote in a social media post. In response to Iran, U.S. says it will protect its interests. The White House's Kirby has dismissed links between the Houthis' Red Sea attacks and the conflict in Gaza, although the Yemeni group has said it is targeting Israel-linked ships because of the war. Earlier, Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian had said that attacks by the Axis of Resistance in the region will stop if the Gaza war ends. But Kirby struck a defiant tone in response to Amir-Abdollahian. As for the resistance continuing, I've said it many times, happy to repeat it, we have a national security interest in the region, significant interest, and we have moved additional military resources at the President's order into the region to make sure we can protect those interests, Kirby said. And we mean what we say. And if you doubt it, take a look at what happened just a few nights ago, he added, referring to the recent US-led attacks against the Houthis. Houthis say they targeted US ships in the Gulf of Aden. The Yemeni group said they fired rockets at the vessel, achieving precise and direct hits. The Yemeni armed forces reaffirmed that the response to the American and British aggression is inevitable, and no aggression will pass without response or punishment. Israel says more than 30 Palestinian fighters were killed in Khan Yunis over the past day. Israeli military spokesperson Daniel Harari says Israeli forces have killed more than 30 Palestinian fighters in Khan Yunis over 24 hours as Israel presses its assault farther south. Battles there over the past day were tough. Sadly, there were casualties too. Our forces killed more than 30 militants in that area in the past 24 hours alone, Harari said in televised remarks on Wednesday. Hamas fighter killed in Lebanon. The Palestinian group has said one of its members was killed in South Lebanon as part of the Al-Aqsa flood battle, the name Hamas uses for the October 7 attack against Israel and subsequent war. Hamas identified the slain fighter as Walid Ahmad Hassanein from the Mi'amia Palestinian refugee camp near the coastal city of Sidon. Earlier, Hamas said that it fired rockets at northern Israel from Lebanon. Israel says captives not killed in an air raid, after mother claims military poisoned her son. The Israeli military has said that the bodies of 2 captives recovered from Gaza prove that they were not killed in an Israeli air raid, countering an initial statement by Hamas. Israeli media outlets reported on Wednesday that the Israeli military presented the families of Ron Sherman and Nick Beiser with a report stating that their bodies showed no signs of trauma or gunfire. However, the military did not explain their cause of death, which has aroused debate within Israel. Sherman's mother, Mayan, has accused the Israeli military of killing her son by filling the tunnel he was in with poisonous gas. Ron was kidnapped because of the criminal negligence of all the senior officials of the army and the damned government who gave the order to eliminate him to settle a score with some terrorist from Jabalia, she said in a social media post, adding that her son had been buried by the Israeli military in a poison grave. U.S. Senate Democrats say they are weighing conditions for Israeli assistance. U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told reporters on Wednesday that Senate Democrats are considering possible conditions for further assistance to Israel, whose campaign in Gaza has created a humanitarian catastrophe and plunged millions of Palestinians into extreme hunger. On Tuesday, the Senate rejected a resolution brought forward by Senator Bernie Sanders that would have required the U.S. Department of State to tie Israeli human rights violations to aid to the country. Schumer, along with the majority of Democrats and every Republican but one, voted against the resolution. Ben-Gvir says the time has come to start a campaign in Lebanon. Israeli far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir says that Israel should start a war against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. In Lebanon, a preemptive attack against Hezbollah is needed and no political settlement will help, Ben-Gvir said in an interview with the Israeli TV station Channel 7, saying that the group would try to enter Israel from the north and carry out attacks similar to those of October 7. A war in the north can be the most painful, but we must not leave the task to the next generation of our children, he added. We must not say that we will postpone so that it does not happen in our generation. 33 from Tulkarem refugee camp have been killed since October 7, official. Faisal Salama, who runs the committee that provides services to the camp in the occupied West Bank, says Israeli soldiers have been waging a war against refugee camps since that day. Israeli forces killed 5 Palestinians in the camp and 1 in Isbat al-Jared near Tulkarem. Soldiers, manning military jeeps and bulldozers, raided the camp in the early hours and started destroying infrastructure. All the camp streets, water pipes and power network have been destroyed, Salama told Al Jazeera. Salama said that hundreds of citizens were detained and interrogated, snipers took position on rooftops of houses, soldiers and went door to door, arresting men and placing women and children in each home in a single room. 5 houses were demolished. It's all part of Israel's policy of collective punishment, Salama said. U.S. willing to reconsider Houthi terrorist designation, White House. If the Houthis cease the attacks, we can certainly reconsider this designation, says White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby. If they don't, as the president said, we will not hesitate to take further actions to protect our people and the free flow of international commerce. He added that the Biden administration labeled the Houthis as a specially designated global terrorist group rather than a foreign terrorist organization. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.